Hi, good evening. Dr. Aruna Vijay here. So today I'm here to talk to you about a good news that the COVID vaccine is here. So it's a freedom and liberty for all of us from this gripping pandemic and to enjoy our normal life back again. So I've never posted any COVID related videos on purpose, but this one is more positive and I wanted to share with everyone and motivate people to get vaccinated, because after so much research and facts and reading articles and fact sheets and myself trying to gear up to get the vaccine. So in my journey, I stumbled upon a lot of facts and other trials and the transparent fact sheets I came across from CDC and the other manufacturing from the Pfizer and BioNTech. I wanted to share those information in a plain, simple language as much as possible, avoiding the medical stuff, because I was myself had a lot of questions regarding this vaccine. So now I'm convinced I'm possibly have registered myself for getting a vaccine as soon as I can. I'm eligible. So you might have all heard that the first vaccine from Pfizer BioNTech is authorized for emergency use, and in the United States and in the UK, and the other vaccine from Moderna is also soon to be authorized in the United States here. And I hear like a lot of other countries are in the process of authorization for emergency use, a lot of other vaccines. So hope everyone soon gets these vaccines in their own countries as soon as they get authorized, and we all try to get back to our normal ourselves. So what is the reason behind this vaccination? We are trying to create a herd immunity. That means once the people, like how we were trying to get rid of our other diseases like measles, smallpox, and other viruses that were really of very significance through these vaccination programs, polio, which was really comes with a big morbidity. So I think those are all we achieved by developing these kind of vaccines and getting a herd immunity. So I think that is possible with this vaccine too. So people have a lot of questions about this particular vaccine. Even the people who took the other vaccines have a lot of questions regarding this vaccine. Why? Since this vaccine, we have never ever had an mRNA vaccine that's called a messenger RNA vaccine before for common use. So what is this technology behind it? Why is it being done so fast? How could someone make a vaccine so fast? Because technically they say this vaccine's manufacturing approval, all these takes a minimum of 4 years according to the literature. But how can someone do everything in this 11 months? Is it safe? Or it being rushed? Is it something I'm getting into my body that is not supposed to be in? Is it going to create an abnormal reactions in me? Is it going to give me a chronic autoimmune diseases? Is it going to change my DNA? Because they say something connected with my RNA and something is going to be changed. So there is a lot of questions in everyone's mind. Yes, I had it in my mind too. But trying to figure out and reading more over and over and again, and the scientists and the researchers giving us more hopes and the safety standards that they maintain and everything, when you go over this, we had to get convinced ourselves to get this, because no one was going to do any harm to you. Any kind of these medicines and stuff always comes with the side effects. So the benefits always outweigh the risks. So any medicine, even a paracetamol, comes with the side effect of a liver failure. So every medicine, simplest form I said. So now, what are vaccines? So what is a traditional vaccine and what is an mRNA vaccine? So that's what first I'm going to try to make it as simple. So I wrote it in a little layman's terminology, so it will be easy for everyone to understand. So a main goal of any vaccine for a particular infectious agent, such as viruses, is to teach the immune system what the virus looks like. And once educated, this immune system will vigorously attack the actual virus or a bacteria if it ever enters the body. So the viruses can contain a core of genes. It could be made up of DNA or an RNA, which is wrapped in a protein coat. To make the coat, the DNA or the RNA of the viruses make a messenger RNA, which is called mRNA. So then this mRNA makes the proteins. So an mRNA is specific structure for a specific structure makes a protein for that specific structure only. So everything is being coded. So everyone's DNA has, all the cells in our body has DNA, and that has the copies or the recipes for all the system bodily functions in us. So whenever any of the function has to be activated, then from the DNA you have to get notes, and then you cannot just take the actual DNA for a cell. So you got to get a notes and then use that particular notes to be coded, and then that coded thing is being read. So we call this transcription and then translation. So normally this is what happens in any cell. So in a traditional vaccine manufacturing stuff, what they really do is they grow cultures of that particular organisms in a chicken or an eggs or an embryo like that. And once those tissue cultures are live, and then they attenuate them, that means they weaken them, or there is a killed forms, or they take only a particular protein from that virus or bacteria, and then they put it in a drug delivery system, and then we get into our body, and then the same thing happens. The immune system gets activated, it produces antibiotic, it is ready to attack when the infectious agents attacks us. So that is the traditional system of manufacturing viruses, and it takes a little longer time because you have to make tissue cultures, so much of them, and then all these kind of takes a little longer. That is how all these years the vaccines are being produced. But now this messenger RNA vaccine, is it new? No, it is not, because about 30 years ago the scientists has been exploring this kind of a possibility. It's been on the works. There were so many people behind it, so many researchers, and this mRNA technology has been used in other kind of infectious, trying to find vaccines and treatments for other kinds of infectious diseases like Ebola, Zika, and other influenza viruses too. And then they were also trying this for cancer treatment therapies to target particular organism, particular cells with a particular protein things. And they were also trying to, in a genetic disorder, whether they can use this to create the missing genetic code. So these kind of works have been going for 30 years now. So what happened suddenly? So this concept of doing this is relatively very easy. So what they thought was this mRNA is relatively easy to be manufactured in the laboratory. It's like a synthetic form. So when you inject this mRNA to someone, then that mRNA traveled through the blood system and is gobbled up by the immune cells, and those makes those protein, whatever that mRNA is specific for, and then it would start the immune system to go through this changes. But while the concept seems very simple, it requires overcome a lot of obstacles. First, they have to learn how to modify a DNA to get that translated mRNA so that they did not produce, so that mRNA that is going inside your body should not produce any violent immune system reactions. Secondly, they learn how to encourage this immune system cells to gobble up this mRNA as it is passed into the blood. Third, they have to learn how to coax those cells to make large amounts of critical piece of protein. Finally, they learn how to enclose this mRNA inside a microscopically small capsule to protect it from being destroyed by the chemicals in the blood. So all these along this way, so this took those, that's why, see, they have to come over all these obstacles. So every point, every step in the research, there was a roadblock. So they have to overcome this. So this took almost 30 years. So finally, when they had a technology, then this COVID hit. So once, when they got this COVID sequencing, and then they found that spike protein from the coronavirus is the one that causes a major disaster. Once they got that genome coded, they were able to right away do this coding and then produce this synthetic mRNA. And that's why this becomes so fast, because of all these years of research. So it's not just because this is a newer technology just started 11 months back. So how does this mRNA vaccines work? So that's what we're going to see next. So when this mRNA is being injected into your body, so this is going to be specific for that spike protein from the COVID. So once it enters into the cell, it produces the antigen, which is a spike protein. So in the traditional vaccine, we are actually giving the infectious agent's protein or the infectious agent itself in a killed or a live form. But here, we are just sending the instructions through this mRNA. So once it enters inside your cell, then it makes that antigen, that is the spike protein, and with the spike protein inside the cell, the immune system gets activated. So it produces antibodies and also the killer cells of the immune system, T cells. So one thing from what I learned from the fact sheets is that they say it never ever enters into the nucleus of the cell where your DNA is stored. So all the DNA for our own cells is inside the nucleus of our every cell. So they say this mRNA particle that we are getting injected in our arm, in our muscle, which goes into the blood, never enters into the nucleus of the cell where our DNA is stored. So they say there is no point of this host, that means us, host genome being averted because they are not entering the nucleus. So this is safe and this is not going to change the DNA of you. That is what they are claiming from all these researchers for 30 years. And then because they had so many obstacles, they finally tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. So what from the concept they say is, by making these precise tweaks to the synthetic mRNA and injecting into the people with it, any cell in the body could be transformed into an on-demand drug factory. So once the scientist was okay with all these information, then they made this progress, and the companies, and there are so many researchers behind it, which a woman named Caroline Carrico, who is actually the vice president of the BioNTech, she's been in this research for over 30 years. and everyone seems to be so satisfied, and then so it's not going to be a medicine that's going to be harmful for the humans as far as from the facts I learned. So it's going to help us prevent the disease that's going to be affecting millions of people, and it is so fast, it's very contagious. I think, in my opinion, this is a game changer. So once we get vaccinated, when we create this, I think this will bring back our life to normalcy. So I think the people shouldn't have any hesitation to go and get a vaccine done. Maybe there are people who always never get a vaccine, that's a different thing, but I think now the people think this is completely away from a traditional way of manufacturing it. So they have a little hesitation and skeptic about, let's wait, let's the first batch of people get it, and let's see the side effects, let's sit back and enjoy and find out what the other people have any side effects, then I'll be the last person to take it. So that's the lot of people have said to me that, and I think that's probably is not a good approach, I guess, because we have to learn and find the facts and then go for it. That's my belief, and that's why I'm trying to share all these things that I found on the fact sheets. Then they were talking about the other thing also they said was this mRNA protein in the vaccine does not stick around for a long time. So because all our cells, for every single function that we do, there are messenger RNAs that are being produced from our DNA copies. But these mRNAs, they never last longer. So they are just constantly made and constantly used and constantly trashed. So they say this mRNA that has the instructions to make the spike protein for the coronavirus, which is getting injected into your arm, they say it's probably will not be more than 72 hours, it will stay there. That's what the fact sheets tell me. So even though there are several types of vaccines being tested for COVID-19, many use traditional technologies, like I said before, like modifying this cold virus so that it cannot replicate, and then it includes the coronavirus spike protein. But mRNA vaccines work particularly well in this situation because they can be made so faster, because you need millions and millions of doses for all these people around the world. If you want to make a bunch of vaccine, you need to actually grow those viruses somehow in a traditional way if you want to do it. But here we are not actually growing the viruses, which might take a longer time. So this mRNA vaccine, since they are synthetic, it's made in the labs, it's very easy to manufacture them. So this mRNA vaccine, please don't think that it is just an unproven technology or it is just being in the works for the past 10 months. No, this has happened to be from 1990s. It's been in the works, and it happened, it is our luck that this could be used to find a vaccine for this COVID-19, which really put everyone in the world into it really gripped us. So I think it came on the correct timing, and then that shed light to our lives. So I think, in my opinion, it probably is a safe vaccine. But anyhow, a lot of discoveries, you might have one more question: why this vaccine is being approved so fast by the FDA or the UK, their Food and Drug Administration, or in any other countries? See, one thing we have to understand, the mRNA has a long history, and the vaccines, even though they wait for a long time to be approved because they are waiting for funds and grants and trials, clinical trials, and the clinical trials being evaluated by the agencies and by the approval by the other agencies and doctors and researchers and scientists. There are so many people behind this. So why this is being rushed is because the pandemic is getting worse and worse and actually sped up all the trials, and everything happened in parallelly because they know this is going to work out. So they were parallelly manufacturing doses and doses of vaccine and submitting, and the people were on the trials on the same time, the manufacturing was on the same time, and all the agencies behind this approval and stuff, and the scientists and everyone was asked to have meetings after meetings and then conduct the peer reviews and everything, and grants, and all the countries were pouring money onto this to speed up everything, so that they wanted to protect their economy because they don't want the coronavirus shutting down their economies. So everyone putting their efforts to get this fast, but it is not rushed. That's what it seems to be when I read all these articles and the fact sheets. So the regulators, the individual human beings, the doctors, they all considered the risks and the benefits. So if it is a less common kind or less contagious viruses, no one would have been done this too faster. So by stalling this too long itself is a harm. So that's why, because the different computer models showed the first wave, second wave, third wave, this, that. So every country was really was threatened. Every economy was threatened. So the people wanted to use a new technology where they could manufacture and protect people at the same time, everyone's livelihood, and bringing back people's normalcy. So in the name of transparency, the FDA published their emergency use authorization memorandum about this Pfizer BioNTech vaccine recently. So I tried to happen to look over all these a little scientific data from my understanding, and also I think all of these manufacturing facilities, how they are made, the plans and everything like that. So people, so they have some transparent fact sheets out, so people can go and read it if they really wanted to read it before they go. And so now, after all these things, we are here. So the vaccine looks safe and effective so far. From the trials, you might say, oh, only like 75,000 people or 80,000 people has been on trials, and how come I can say this is safe? They say it's safe for people 16 and above. They did not authorize this in pregnant people or young kids below 16 years of age. So the vaccine looks safe and effective so far. Nobody will be forced to take the vaccine, but if you would like to wait and see if unknown side effects start showing up, you're welcome to sit back and watch. Personally, because I work and I've seen patients suffering from COVID, and there are so many lives on the line, I think I am really interested in getting this vaccine, and I'm registered to get this as soon as I'm eligible for it. So if I learn more facts about it, I'll share with you in the future videos. So I myself going to take this after reading all these things. So I tried to explain in a very simple terminology as much as I can, trying to avoid all these medical terminologies. So if you guys have any questions, you can put it up in the comments, which I'll be happy to answer from the fact sheets I have here. So thank you one and all for listening. Hope you're all safe. Then one more thing, even after the vaccine, until most of the people get vaccinated and the herd immunity develops, we still have to keep our masks on and social distance. So we have to always wear masks, watch our distance, and wash our hands. Thank you very much for listening.